Cool, alright. So hi everyone, my name is Rohin. I'm a technical artist at PikPok. Today I want to talk about tools and processes we use here at PikPok and Maya and Photoshop. Can I get a show of hands, who uses Maya and Photoshop? Quite a lot of people. And who writes scripts in those tools? Cool. So starting with Maya. So in Maya, there's 3 languages. There's Mel, Python, and C++. And in Python, there's like 3 main frameworks. There's like Maya commands, PyMel, and then there's OpenMaya. We mostly use Mel, Maya commands with Python, and OpenMaya. We haven't had a need yet to use C++ or anything. So this is just like comparing the pros and cons of them, mostly around like performance. And Mel is Maya's own scripting language, which some people will love it, some people hate it. We normally try to avoid using it unless we have to. So this is kind of like what the syntax looks like for Mel. It's syntactically similar to Perl in a way. So it's going to show you some use cases for where you need to use it in Maya, or where it makes sense. So the most basic example is when you want to do some automation. Here what I've done is I've just created a cube, I've scaled it, and I've like rotated it. And in the script editor, it actually echoes the commands, the Mel commands that you can then take, and you can like play around with them and work out what the different parameters are. And then when you've done that, you can actually create like your own shelf button to automate the action. So this is really powerful, and many artists actually can pick up on this and learn how to create their own automated scripts with very little like programming knowledge. Another really good use case for Mel is actually embedding code inside of a scene file. So Mark, our principal animator at PikPok, he's created this bunch of script nodes inside of one of our rigs for Rival Stars horse racing, and it shows like this menu where when you select like different controls on the rig, it changes the selections options you've got. So this is like really powerful. Another option is when you're modifying parts of Maya. A lot of Maya is still actually written in Mel, and for parts of like the UI, you can actually like take parts of the startup scripts and actually like modify them, or even just take like the function, override it. So here, what one of the tech artists did a while ago is they added 2 buttons to the status line to have 2 buttons for doing like SVN operations. So you can either like modify the file directly in the program files, or you can actually like copy and paste it into your own custom directory that gets written first to override it. Now, when to use OpenMaya. So we normally would build a script using Maya commands first, because it's really easy to discover them. As you perform the action, it tells you what the commands are. But sometimes you need performance, and this is examples of where we need that. So on the left, we've got a tool called Ubisoft Edges, and this basically makes all the edges soft except for edges along the UV borders. And on the right, we've got a tool that will basically print out the usage, the UV usage of mesh. And this tool on the right, this was originally written in Mel, and it was like quite slow to run. So I rewrote it using the OpenMaya API, and it was like lightning fast after that. I was thinking about trying to like also convert it into C++, but then decided it wasn't really worthwhile, because if you write something in C++, there is that extra time involved in developing it and also maintenance as well going forward. When you keep stuff in some like Mel and Python, it makes it a lot easier for maintenance. When you're doing tool UI, there are two options for that. One is using Maya's own like UI API. The second option is using Qt. So this is what this is like a basic like tool that's been built using the my commands, and it's what we used for building one of the our old legacy tools. This is quite a complex tool. It basically imports, bakes animations and exports them to Unity. So while I was like doing maintenance on this, I was finding I was spending a lot of time trying to update the UI sometimes, and I ran into some like bugs with the whole like old legacy UI framework, and I decided it was time to convert it over to use Qt. So this is the new version of the tool that I built, and the great thing about using Qt is it comes with this tool called Qt Designer. It's basically a WYSIWYG, and it saves you so much time actually building the all the UI widgets and everything. You can create custom widgets as well, and it saves it as a UI file, which is a XML document, but you can also write a script to automatically convert that over to Python. So it's yeah, it's just Qt is like so much more versatile than the old way of doing it. And so that tool I showed previously, we've used it for quite a few different games, because any game that requires animation now, it just like saves us a lot of time for doing any type of animation that's required. So like Into the Dead franchise, Rubber Stars Horse Racing, Rubber Stars Basketball, and My Cat Club. One feature that I recently added to the tool was the ability to search for animation clips, and also storing notes about animation clips. So the ability to basically have notes stored about clips, and also the option to search through all the clips that were available across all the projects, including all the mocap. And I was trying to work out the best way to do this. I wanted to ensure that the notes were actually like, I don't want to store them in a database, because there was a chance of them getting lost if the clips got like renamed. So the solution I came up with was to store them in the actual clip files, and not just as like a comment, but actually as like a mel command, which would mean that when the clip got re-imported, it would actually automatically reattach the notes, even if our tools weren't available on the machine. So this worked great for searching through projects and grabbing notes for animation files, but there was a problem, and it was with our mocap library. It was like over 90 gigs, and it just wasn't going to work scanning through all those files and trying to read all those notes. So I wrote another script that would just trawl through that and store all that in an SQLite database. So this is something that I worked on about just over a year ago now. It's our tool distribution system, how we distribute updates to artists. So the old system, when I came on, I found it has a few issues. So artists had to manually run SVN update for the latest changes. There was difficulty in updating custom shelves, and we were always creating like new launches for every project when it wasn't necessary. And the biggest issue was probably there was no error reporting at all. Had to wait for artists to actually like come to me and tell me there was problems going on. So first fix was error reporting, and this wasn't too hard to set up. I decided to use Sentry. mainly because we had some existing web apps that were using it. Great thing about Sentry is it gives you really good detailed reports, and you can include like extra variables as well. One thing I made sure of is to disclose to artists that we were recording these things, and give them the option to disable it via a PikPok plugin if they wanted to. Second fix was updating the custom shelves. So we had one shelf, and I was running into issues with the my commands to try and get that to update, because sometimes running into issues where you get like buttons will be like duplicated, or the shelf will get duplicated. And I found the best way to have full control over that was actually to rebuild the actual shelf file itself, because the shelf file is actually just a mel script. So sometimes you can just rebuild the actual mel file rather than trying to like just manipulate using the my commands, which is pretty powerful. And also added the option for artists to attach custom shelf buttons. So we have the option to just like pick up on whether something is added by the artist, and we can like preserve that. And also added options to have we have a dev launcher, so when we use our dev launcher, TechUs use that, then and you click a shelf button, it actually like will reload all the Python modules and rebuild any Qt windows, which basically means that we don't have to restart Maya when we make changes. Third fix, this was pretty easy. We were just creating too many launches, and it wasn't necessary. Artists had to like close Maya and restart it with a different launcher if they wanted to switch projects, and there's only really one project that actually like was kind of like relying on it, but we could actually easily fix that by just adding a drop-down menu. So place that with just like a launcher per Maya version, plus a launcher for the tech artists to just launch it with a different like variables and custom shelves for us to reload modules. Fourth fix, this was temporary, was to do auto updates. So modified the user setup.py. This is a file that's you can store inside the my preferences folder for each user, and got this to do automatic SVN updates. Ran into a few issues. Sometimes we had to do like it would like fail, and then you had to do an SVN cleanup. Yeah, SVN really sucks. But this was temporary, and then I found as I was reading through techask.org, which is like a great forum for finding different solutions, asking questions. A senior member had recommended this solution. So this wasn't my idea, but I basically got the gist of what he was saying and decided to give it a go. So I changed the whole system where I was using committing stuff to a Git repo, and I set up some scripts that would run on CI server, which is TeamCity, that automatically pull down the latest changes and run unit tests, create a new build and put it in like a zip archive, and then just copy that over to a network folder. And when users start up Maya, now they have a user setup script that will just like download the latest zip. It'll extract any files like DLLs that can't be read directly, and then the other files like standard Python files, they can be read directly from the zip file. So this is really fast. It's actually yeah, just makes things a lot cleaner as well. If you want to revert back to a clean slate, we just have to delete the zip from the user preferences folder, and that's it. So this is the user setup script that we put in the artist preferences folder. It is just super simple. It's like, and it never needs to be updated. And it's really important that we never update it, actually, because since Maya 2022, there's new security settings, and by default, if you try and update this file, it gives you a warning that the hash of the file has changed, and you have to confirm the change. And if you don't confirm the change, then it just reverts back to the old version. So yeah, this will basically downloads a file called startup, which handles all the like working out which is the latest revision and downloading that. But this is like as simple as it can get for like the main file that never changes. So next fix was unit tests. This is a tool that Jess, one of our production artists, made. It's a really good renamer tool, and we decided it was a good use case for writing unit tests. And we use PyTest because there's less boilerplate code required to write these tests, and it still integrates really well with PyCharm and on TeamCity as well. Tells you what tests have run, how long, if any have failed. You can also mark tests to be passed if you've currently got some issues with them. Now, so my 2022 recently came out, and they're finally upgraded to using Python 3. It's taken them ages. I mean, the Python community dropped support for Python 2 quite a while ago now, but Maya's always behind, I guess. So upgrading to Python 3, I wanted to support older versions of Python at the same time, or versions of Maya at the same time. So the best way to do this, I found, was to write a code that would run in both Python 2 and Python 3. And there's a module called Modernize, which is really good for that. So this is a script I wrote that would use the Modernize module to run through all our scripts and upgrade them. This got me about 90% of the way there. There's still a bit of manual work involved, but this Modernize module is fantastic, especially for relative imports. There was some other issues as well that had to be done manually, like how we handle files that were that basically read and write ASCII, because in Python 3 it's now using Unicode. And of course, communicating updates, yeah, wiki, emails, and word of mouth. Basically, I mean, usually if it's a popular tool, I mean, it's word of mouth is just fine. All right, moving on to Photoshop. This is a screenshot from Into the Dead 2. So in Photoshop, there's different ways you can do automation. There's recorded actions, there's ExtendScripts, CEP Plugins, UXP Plugins, and C++ plugins. We've done everything except for C++ plugins. Recorded actions is fairly easy to set up. It's artist friendly. You just have a panel where you can click record and perform an action, then save it. You can save it to a file. We've got a bunch of actions that we've got set up, and these actions basically just call ExtendScripts directly for performing some actions. They're just convenience ways of doing it. Then there's ExtendScript. Now I think this is going to be it's deprecated. It's going to be deprecated soon, probably in favor of UXP. ExtendScript is basically based on an older version of JavaScript, ECMAScript 3, I think, and it's got some use for it. For cases like you can do UI with it using script UI. It's but yeah, probably going to be replaced with UXP just because I think Adobe wants to focus more on sandboxing plugins. So CEP Plugins, this is ExtendScript plus HTML5 scripts. Debugging can be a bit of a nightmare, especially on the ExtendScript side. The actual presentation and business logics run in a Chromium browser, which is separate from the actual application in a way. It's and it also setting up your development environment with it is just, it's not that fun, especially just reading builds. I just need to install a separate app. So Adobe recently have have introduced a thing called UXP plugins, and they've deprecated CEP plugins now, which is great. So UXP plugins, it's HTML5 scripts with JavaScript 6. Plugins are now sandboxed, and the API is still in development. So at the bottom, this is a tool that Jess made for grabbing selection that would copy and paste and manipulate multiple parts of multiple layers at once. And on the right is a tool from earlier, which this tool here for like doing batch image conversion. So I rebuilt it in UXP, and one thing I found about the new sandboxing is you can't copy and paste folder paths anymore. You have to actually click the browse button, and this is just so to prevent you from like having access to a folder or a file without the user knowing, because you can delete stuff. And Adobe's now got this whole marketplace where you can just like go ahead and just install any plugin you want. So they want to make sure that you can't do anything malicious, I guess. But the good news is there is talk about providing options for doing in-house non-sandbox plugins later. So we'll see what happens there. These are some helpful resources for learning about UXP plugin development. Davide Baraka, he's got some amazing tutorials, covers quite a lot, and the forums are fantastic for just asking questions. Like there's Adobe employees on there which usually respond quite quickly. And I want to show you an example of combining both Maya and Photoshop. So this is a game we built for Snapchat called Zombie Rescue Squad. And it's a 2.5D game. So this is tool, and this is what we had to do was we had to have a tool that would you'd feed it in like a Photoshop document with like different body parts, and it would like send that off to Photoshop, then to Illustrator, and then back to Maya again. So there's several steps that we had to like go through. So basically, you're not constrained to just like one tool. I mean, when you're building a pipeline, you can have you can like basically join things together to really streamline the whole process. Yep, that's about it really. Any questions or comments?
Awesome, thank you so much. We don't have any questions here in the app. Does anybody want to ask questions here? And then I'll pass on the mic. Yeah, cool.
Hi, what was that tool that you mentioned earlier to help create the UI in Maya? It was Qt?
Yep. Sorry.
You're good.
Where's there? Ah, there we go. Yeah, so Qt, it's a UI framework that Maya's actually like built using Qt, and yeah, you can write Qt code and like build it purely with code, or you can actually use a Qt designer to like visually build it and then convert that to Python code.
Is it easy to find online to get the tool?
Yep.
Cool.
You can download it. It's free to download. It's got I think it's a GPL code, but it's licensed code. So I think it's free to use in open source projects, but yeah, you've got to pay for it if you use it commercially. But yeah, if you're using it in Maya, you don't have to pay for it because Maya's already got the license for it.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.
All right,
Thanks
that's
so
it.
much.
Thanks.